Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how I would edit the seasonal spark list if I was trying to get it customized, do it with the least amount of effort and difficulty, and still make it look like its own brand new product. Now, I'm actually going to be using the seasonal spark list for a personal use bundle that I'm submitting to. Now, one thing with personal use products that's a little bit different whenever you're submitting for a bundle versus listing it in your own shop or in an Etsy store is that at least in my um, for my strategy, I prefer to have it be something that the customer is going to be able to put to use pretty quickly after they sign up for the bundle. And the reason being that when they're downloading all kinds of resources and I've got a holiday product in there for a season that isn't even here yet, or something they're not going to need for another month or two, they're probably going to deprioritize that in favor of things that are more immediately usable. And they probably think that they're going to come back to my product. And a lot of times the truth is they just forget. I know I do. It's happened to me many, many times. I run across something on my hard drive that I got from a free bundle, or I got from a paid bundle and was really excited about. But I just never remembered once that holiday or season or event rolled along. So that's why I've chosen the seasonal spark lists. And I'm just going to walk you through how I would change these. So the first thing that I would take a look at is what kind of format I wanted to use. So inside of this template, if you don't have the template, it actually comes with an alternate layout at the very end. We've got these two layouts that are kind of like bingo boards or a challenge board. And the idea behind that is that you would just take the different activities listed here, and you may have to edit them down because of the space allotment here, but place them in there. And we have two different layouts for that. Now, another option for these, all of these are two column lists. I like how two column lists look. I think it's nice if you just want kind of one page printables. It's also great with this particular template because you can offer it as an opt-in or a freebie to your customers, or in the case of this bundle, I may only offer one or a couple of these. I may not do the whole range of them, but for the sake of the template, I wanted to give my customers a lot of options for how they sold or gave these away. So I have the two column layout right now. So I can also use them like that. Now, another thing that you can do is turn it into a double-sided document. Prompt list, but basically the spark lists, which is what these are called, the fall spark lists, they're basically bucket list kind of things that you would want to do in the season. And each of these lists covers a different subtopic. So this one's pumpkin patch adventure. So it's all things you could do at a pumpkin patch. This one's cozy fall days spark list. It's all, nice, warm, cozy activities. Here's the foodie fun spark list. Cozy autumn gatherings. So it's more focused on socializing, and all the way through there. There's the outdoor adventures. So another option, if you wanted to have more white space, maybe you even wanted to go with bigger fonts for people with vision impairments, or maybe you just wanted the white space because this looks too crowded for you. In that case, you can make it into a double-sided document, and you can do that pretty quickly. I'll show you a quick example of how I would do it, but I would duplicate this twice. Now, when I'm trying things like this, I always keep the original page inside my template till I'm absolutely sure I'm not going to need to go back. I'm not going to want to use this. I'm not going to change my mind. So to quickly turn this into a double-sided document, I would remove everything in that second column. And then I come over here and move everything in the first column. And unfortunately, to do this, these are grouped, the checkbox and the text here. You can't just stretch it out because it would also stretch out your check boxes. So you're going to have to actually ungroup everything, which means you're going to have to go back and group it too. So that's a little bit time consuming, but it's nothing that we can't handle. All right, so then you can just go through and select all of these and you can pull them out. Now it's going to give you a lot of white space. But if you wanted to do more graphics up top and more clip art, it's going to give you space to move everything down where you could do that. Whereas if you stick with the two column list, you're going to have much smaller graphics and clip art, which I don't really mind in this case, but that is something to be aware of. Now then I would go back and regroup everything so you can space these bad boys back out again. And I'm just showing this as an example. I'm not going to go through and completely redo the second page. I believe for the bundle I'm submitting this for, I'm going to go ahead and do the 2-column. If I end up changing my mind, I'll do that off camera just so you don't have to watch through the whole thing. Now, one thing I do like about the front and back idea, besides that you have more graphic room if that's what you're looking for, is sometimes on something like this, I like to do, I'm going to pull this down, I like to do transparent graphics. Now, one thing that's going to prevent me from doing it in the 2-column version, which bear with me one moment. Let me make sure these are still aligned on the left, and they are. Let me show you an example here. Okay, I've got 2 sets of graphics. One's a background and one's clip art that I'm going to be using. I actually, in my membership, I provided these spark lists with these particular graphics during that month. And I sell them like this in my shop. Now, you could obviously go to Creative Fabrica or wherever it is that you source graphics and get the packs that work for you. But let me show you. All right, so here's some pumpkins that will work really well for this particular list. One thing I like doing on something like this is making a graphic like this very, very transparent. Probably an 18 is about right. Moving it backwards. But as you can see here, I feel like it really messes. That one still needs to be, yep, position. Still needs to go back. Oops, that one is, there we go. I feel like these are just too light. Now we could change the color of the check boxes, but I think if we go darker, it's going to be too distracting to the graphic. And if we go lighter, you're not going to see them. So I personally would probably not choose to do that with these particular check boxes. Now, another option would be that you could change the lines, because right now these check boxes have no border, right? They're just a color. That's how you know they're there. You could change the border weight to 1. So it's going to be a black box around it. And you could change this to clear or no fill. And you could do that all the way through. That might show up a little better. Let me actually do it on one of these. Good gracious. Okay. All right. So that's an option. I think that's going to be a little distracting, I believe, to have that all the way down the graphics. Probably wouldn't do that either. But those are some options if you really wanted to do that transparent image. Let me bring this back to the front. Okay, let me get this bad boy out of here. I'm going to keep pressing the wrong button over and over. I'm going to bring that, take that transparency back out. I'm going to shrink that down. I'm going to move that up here. Now, one thing that I do quite often whenever I'm customizing templates is I like the rectangles to have curved corners. Now, I didn't choose to do that in this particular template. A lot of times in my templates, I don't, because not everybody likes that. But sometimes when I'm customizing, I'll go ahead and switch that up. Just one more thing to change it to make it unique to me if I'm using a PLR template. But it doesn't make a huge difference. It's not like somebody's not going to recognize the template because you switched the kind of triangle, the kind of rectangle rather. But just so you can see what it looks like, I've selected the rectangle that I have back there right now. And I've got that locked in. And the reason I lock it in is because when I'm moving it around all of this text and the check boxes, I don't want that background moving while I'm trying to do it and messing me up. So I lock it down. And I do have to say, if you hear a noise in the background here, I've got one of my puppies on my lap and she's a snorer. So if you hear any noises, it is her snoring away on my lap. So, all right, back to the business at hand. So I'm going to hit this lock button right here and it's going to unlock it. So now you see we can move it around. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. I'm going to go over to Elements. I'm going to use this rectangle with the curved corners. I'm also going to go over here to File, Settings, and I want to show my margins. Okay. And I'm just going to place that right inside the margins. Now, another thing I often do with my printables is a lot of times I go beyond the regular margins just because, as we all know, even though our printers don't print the very edges of things, we still have a lot more room to play with. So a lot of times I don't necessarily follow the margins exactly, but I do like to have them there as a guide when I'm originally creating. So, okay, I'm going to turn that to white, and we're going to position that to the back. And then I'm going to lock that down again. There we go. So now I can move these around again if I have to. And I'm actually going to go ahead and change my fonts now. So I'm going to go up to my quick change guide right here. And a lot of creators include this in their templates. So this is a really easy way to change everything at once. The first thing I'm going to change is Railway. I'm going to switch it to Glacial Indifference. I use Glacial Indifference a lot because it's really easy to read. I can use it on family-friendly printables. Children can read it. It's very simple, and it usually doesn't require a whole lot of adjustment because, as you know, once you switch the font may be wider, taller. It's just a different size. So a lot of times you have to go through it and adjust everything. And I'll still have adjustments to make, but Glacial Indifference isn't going to be a huge difference when I'm switching from another basic manuscript font, or let's say I was using like Open Sans, which I frequently use in my own documentation for my templates. So I'm going to switch that to Glacial Indifference. And then I'm going to choose Change All right down here in the bottom left. So it's going to change everything that's Railway right now in my entire document. I'm also going to go ahead and type that in for myself so I remember what I switched it to. Now, I just made kind of a boo-boo. I normally would not make the changes directly in the quick change guide. What I would normally do is have a copy. I make an entirely different copy, and I would have it in a different tab. So I would have my master copy of the template, which I don't touch, and then I would have my working copy. So once I switch this, I would still have the original over in a different tab. So if I decide I want to change my mind, or I want to look at what was originally there and I don't remember, I can go back over and peek at that. So that's just one thing I didn't mention in the beginning. And then let's see, Handelson 3. What do we want to change that one to? I want to be quick because the whole point of templates is for us to save time. And if we end up spending an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, then we might as well have started from scratch. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, was I was spending so much time on templates, and then I started making things from scratch, and it was quicker. And that made no sense to me. So you always want to be looking for new ways to cut the time down. And it's not to make it lower quality. It's just to stop some of the analysis paralysis and things like that. And that's actually why I've been shifting my business to provide more minimalist design templates. So I provide a lot of times with the template, or I sell complementary graphics and backgrounds, but more and more I'm trying not to include those already placed inside of the template. In fact, some of my templates have all the graphics in here inside of the template on one page, or they have all the backgrounds, a range of backgrounds on one page, but they're not yet placed. And that's to make it easier, because when you have a beautifully designed template, one, you don't always want to change it out. Two, you're seeing how someone else envisioned this template, and it makes it hard to really get your own ideas. At least it does for me. So I find I can hit the ground running when I don't have all of that other stuff there, no matter how beautiful it is. Another problem is a lot of times you have to remove all of that stuff. And sometimes when people have made these gorgeous designs, there's a lot of complicated layers in there. It's not as easy as just swapping out a graphic. You've actually got to figure out how to separate layers and how to move things around, and it can get really tricky. All right, so now I'm going to, because I'm on my free alternate account, my free Canva account, I'm going to go ahead and make sure all the fonts that show up are free. Let's check out what the handwriting ones are. I don't really like any of those. Let's see. I don't think cursive ever brings up anything. Oh, that's okay. Let me see what feeling passionate. Okay, like I said, I'm going to change that right here so I can see it. Okay. All right, let's see. And that noise you're hearing now is the same snoring dog trying to dig through a chair, which is not possible. Okay, I don't actually like that very much. So, I've already had to redo this video once, so I'm just going to let this go and I'm going to pretend it's not happening. I'm going to try fancy. We're going to go a different route. Okay, I'm just going to go with Playfair display. That's not super exciting, but I do like it's very classic. And in a minute, I'm going to change my background patterns. So I think that'll fit really nicely with what I plan to do there. And again, I'm going to tell it to change all. I'm going to change this to Playfair display. Now I'm going to start trying to go a lot quicker because I know I'm taking up more time here than I want. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my background. So I'm going to go over here to a plaid fur every season. That is one of my digital paper packs. And if you are watching and you're in the membership and you received the fall Sparklist a couple of months ago, you also received the clip art I'm using and you received these digital papers. So this is all from the same month. So I'm going to actually replace this one and I'm going to use this. And I think I actually want to, I could just get a regular rectangle, but this is easy. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to go through all the way through here and we're going to replace the background. I'm actually going to control copy. It's easier for me to paste on each page as we get to it than it is to keep clicking over here into the graphics. So replace background, replace background. Now, if I wasn't trying to make this video somewhat snappy in terms of how much time I take, I would also be going and switching these rectangles, these background rectangles, to all being the ones with the curved corners. And I will do that after we exit the video because that is how I want to present it inside that bundle. Okay, almost there. Okay. All right, so we're going to go back over to, and this was, in case, just so you remember, the reason this one's like this is going to be our backside of this page. So I would eventually come in here and actually, we would move all of those over. And just like we did before, we'd pull them across, all the way across, we'd regroup them, and then we'd space them out. But I'm not going to do that right now. You know where I was going with that. Oh, I didn't actually finish the whole thing with the transparency earlier. The one benefit to having it like this is you can go ahead and put in a more transparent image. So if we came over to this, because we don't have the boxes running down our second column here, it's going to look a lot better if you want to use one of these kind of transparent images. I believe it was 18 was the transparency that made it really readable. Okay. And then just like before, you would position it backwards, 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 and make sure that there. And I actually really do like that. But again, I'm probably going to go with the 2-column. One thing I'll do before I complete the editing, before I go all the way through it, is I will print out this one, this 2-column one, and this one, just to see if I feel like there's a real significant difference. And if I feel like this one's much better, then I'll take the time to go ahead and do it all the way across. I don't think I am, because I like the 2-column look. But if I were to continue with it, I would go ahead and take this. I would narrow the line spacing here to 1. Yeah, I think that looks fine. I'd probably make that just a little smaller. I may have to make this narrow because I'm going to put some more graphics up here. Actually, I don't want to do this whole thing just because I do want to be time efficient for you. But I would go through here, and what I would probably do is, well, I've almost got it done now. So I would go ahead and get these all situated, regrouped. And I would move this down. Actually, you wouldn't need the instructions because this is the back side. I actually probably wouldn't even put the title on the back side, and I wouldn't put continued or anything like that because the person can clearly see that they've got a backside. If it was 3 or 4 pages, I might put the titles on every page, but because we're anticipating that the person is going to print it as a 2-sided document, I'm not going to do that. And actually, because of that, I'm going to be more cognizant of our margins. I'm going to space these out. And again, when I print this out, I may realize that this is just way too much white space, because there is a fine line where we get a little bit too much of a good thing. Okay, and then I would actually take this transparent one and put it on page 2. I might even go bigger. Take it out of this one. And I would put the clip art version of that same image right here. I would probably also add, shouldn't say probably, I should say I am going to, because I am creating this. So I would also add the drop shadows because I love shadows on everything. So there we go. I'm gonna see, I want that to be centered, so I'm gonna bring that down a notch because I like the size of the clip art. I like how it looks overhanging a little. I do want to be cautious because although we can go past the traditional margins, we also don't want it to go into the space where it would be white once it's printed. But I think I'm okay right here. And again, I always print before I list something online or sell it. So I will know if this falls into the white space. I'm pretty sure I'm clear right here. So I would do it like that. Let's see if I can bump it back to the 24. Yeah, I can. Okay. This isn't going to show much, but this is going to be just a little bit, one more little detail, even though it's not going to jump out at you too much. I'm going to add the green and add that. And this is a pretty small thing, but I don't like this color with this peachy color almost with this beige background. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to choose the add new color. I'm going to use the dropper, and I'm going to take this very light color right there, and I'm going to change it to that. I'm also going to copy. I can change all here, but I want to add it to my quick change guide just so I have it for reference. And you don't have to do that. I just like to have everything on that guide later for reference. Whenever I say this is a PDF for my personal use customer, that'll still be in the final version in case I ever want to go back and edit it. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to that peach color. I'm actually going to change the hex code, so I have that there. I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to choose the new color, and I'm going to hit change all down here. And it's changed all. I love how it looks now on this cover. And I'm also going to pick the graphic for the cover. Oh, I kind of like either this one. Oh, I really like that. Okay, I had thought about using this one, but as pretty as that one is, I think I'm going to go for that. I really like that a lot. Let's see. I'm kind of on the fence if I want this to hang back underneath that. Huh. I do want to leave some space at the top because remember, I'm going to go up to 100 so I can see how close it is. Because of, like we talked about, people, the print edge that they're going to encounter. I want to see what that looks like with a drop shadow. I do like that with a drop shadow, but I think what I'm going to do, let me see if I position it behind it. Nope. Okay. I told you I love my shadows, so no, that doesn't really add much, but I'm just going to leave it like that. And I think I'm going to thicken the lines. There's already a border because remember this was like a label kind of thing on the cover. I'm going to bring the border up from 4 to 10. I'm going to keep those colors because they complement. I want to go up just a tad bit. Let me actually select all of this and see what happens if I center it as a whole. Right there. Nope, I don't like that. I want this to go further back up. It just looks too low down to me. So okay, and I think I like that as a cover. Again, once I print it out, if I don't like it, then I'll just make some switches. There's some other things I could see adding. I don't want to get too carried away. Sometimes we feel like we have to add so much clip art and so many elements, and it just ends up looking really complicated. But maybe your design aesthetic does include more graphics. A lot of people like more, and that's okay. You know, I think there's somebody out there for all of the design aesthetics. So I don't think, you know, I think there's someone for everything. So you make what brings you joy. You make what you would buy, and you'll be a-okay. Yeah, I could see adding some of these other things, but I also don't want to go down a rabbit hole. And this could be me sitting here for 45 minutes playing and tweaking. The best thing for me is to decide, okay, I'm just going to place something now. I'm going to choose the best option I have in front of me that takes me 15 seconds to get it in there. And then once it's printed, I look at it one more time. And a lot of times at that point, either I'm like, oh yeah, I love it. And other times I'm like, oh, I know what that needs. And it's so much less time than agonizing. All right, so this video has already gone over what I wanted, so I apologize for that. But at least you can see some of what I would do, and I did not finish this. Okay, let's go ahead and fix this one up real quick. Now for me to go back and finish the rest of the template, which I'll be doing again, most likely in the 2-column style that you're seeing right here, it's probably only going to take me, I'll set a timer for myself and be really disciplined. And I'm just going to take another 20 minutes to pick out these graphics to get the copy printed. Once I have it printed, I'll give myself 10 minutes to look for anything that's just not quite right, and then I'll be done. But I will tell you, back whenever I used to give myself free rein to look for the perfect graphics and to find multiple sets, I was spending hours and then sometimes days. And I would be embarrassed if you saw my hard drive because I basically have a graveyard of PLR templates, ones that I abandoned and I gave up because half the time I just lost the inspiration. I lost the motivation to finish them. Sometimes I had taken them so apart and it was so time consuming that I just had no energy to continue with them. So I have a whole lot of unfinished templates, and I almost never go to Creative Fabrica anymore for my graphics. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking them. I have an annual membership. I love Creative Fabrica, but for me, it's a black hole. It's a time suck. And I will get very excited about the different templates and I'll start bookmarking all these creators, but it gets me nowhere in terms of my creation or my business. And so that's why, and another problem is that technically you're supposed to layer their graphics in order to use them in commercial products. So you're not supposed to be able to just put one graphic like right here. You would be expected to layer multiple graphics on there. And that can be super time consuming to figure out how to do that, how it's going to look okay. So that's just one more thing. So now as I create my own graphics, and this is in no way to plug my own products, it's because it's just easier for me to not have those constraints, to know that I can place my graphics into editable templates. I can place one graphic without layering it, and that's made things a lot quicker and easier for me. So even if you're not buying or using my graphics or you're not in my membership, I'd encourage you to look for graphics with the simplest use terms. Just to simplify life for yourself, unless you're very disciplined and you can go over to Creative Fabrica or Design Bundles and excuse me, and pick one or two graphic packs and use them quickly and easily and, not get hung up. If that's you, then I envy you. All right, so let me do this last little change. Excuse me again. I'm actually going to move these. All right, so one of the questions I get the most is about how much you have to customize a template. Most PLR creators and extended use and MRR creators require some kind of customization. Etsy certainly requires that you don't sell templates as is. And the truth is that they need to look like unique products. You need to put in, some effort to make it look different. Actually, effort is the wrong word. You shouldn't have to put in a lot of effort, but they should look unique. They should look different. But as you can see, we can do that pretty quick. We've really created a whole different product. This product doesn't look like it did whenever it just had the beige background. It looks different now. So, change the backgrounds, change the fonts, add the graphics, and you're done. I'm going to do one more thing. Go ahead and put this one up here. All right, so we have been on this recording about half an hour. Some of the time was me yammering. So as you can see, we can make choices, quick design choices, and we can get them done and move on. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of the last little edits. I'm going to print it out. Like I said, I'm going to take one more look, and then hopefully I'll get this submitted to my bundle. And I will be posting some more videos so you can see some more of how I would make quick changes. Thanks.